Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And today with me is Rob Whalen, the co-founder and CEO of PTO Exchange. Rob, can you tell us a little bit about what PTO Exchange actually does?
Yes, I will, Dr. Gleb. Thanks for having me on the show, too. PTO Exchange is a platform that allows employees to use some of their unused paid time off that they have accrued for what we call good services and experiences. Mainly, you could take some of the value of your PTO and put it in your 401k. You could take it and pay down your student loan. So you use it for financial wellness. You can also give it to nonprofits, and it's really you have the ability to self-direct a certain portion of it for something other than taking the time off.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about why that's meaningful and important. Like, how do people use it? What's the business case? Help me understand why somebody would want to give some of their PTO off and how that the financially would even work.
Yeah, so companies, when they accrue PTO, what they do is, and this is the accounting part of it, they run it through their net income statement. You accrue it, so like you'll accrue 3 hours every pay period. They'll expense that through their net income statement. It'll go over to the balance sheet as a liability offset by cash. And then when you use it, it kind of does the reverse, right? And that's kind of the financial acumen of it. But the reality of it, Doctor, is that roughly, 1 week of your paid time off goes unused in the marketplace. And so the ability for employees to, instead of using their paid time off or taking time off, and maybe they couldn't go on a vacation because they couldn't afford it, maybe they could use that and then reduce their student loan debt or, help them save, which would put them in a better financial position and creates less stress for them. So it has the same meaning for the employee, being able to reduce stress like paid time off does. And for the employer, it's a way for them to be able to get that liability off their books within a time frame, so it doesn't grow over time, because these accruals will grow year over year. Like if I accrued it, let's say I made $30,000 a year. If I accrued it at $30,000 a year, I was able to roll a week of it over, and now I make 40,000. The company has to go in and make a journal entry that 1 week that you rolled over now is now worth the $40,000 rate, right? And so they'll make an adjustment to their accruals. They'll make an adjustment to the liability. So the ability for the employer to reduce the liability before it grows is really good for the company as a whole.
But what about if somebody has unlimited paid time off? That's often a situation that folks find themselves in. What do you do then?
Yeah, so unlimited paid time off companies, the companies that do that, they're really not our customers because there is no value there to be exchanged. And really what's happening there, Dr. Gleb, is that the company is saying, hey, I don't want to track your time. I don't want to be accountable to your time. And what they're doing is taking the value of your PTO away from you. And they're saying, there's really no value here for you. I'll give you an example that I use in how, PTO works and how we think of it. So let's just say that I make $100,000 a year, and I'm just using 100,000 because it's easy math.
Sure, easy math.
And you go into a job and you say, I want $100,000 a year, and I want 4 weeks of paid time off. And so what you're actually negotiating is you're saying, hey, I'm going to give you 11 months worth of productivity, and you're going to pay me $100,000 a year. Okay. And then you're going to give me 4 weeks off, non-pay, right? Zero productivity for you. Well, what people don't know is when you take $100,000, everyone has an hourly pay rate. So that $100,000 is divided by 2080, which is 40 hours times 52. But so what you got to look at is if I am only getting paid for 11 months worth of productivity, the minute I give my employer one more week of productivity, we call it a productivity pay rate. My productivity pay rate goes down, okay? Because what happened was I worked and I got paid, but I didn't get my use of my PTO. I gave productivity and I did not get paid for it, right? And so people don't think, we look at hourly pay rates and then we also look at productivity pay rates. The hourly pay rate always stays the same, never changes. The productivity pay rate changes on how you use your PTO. Okay. And I don't think people really understand that. And so unlimited takes that all away. And they just say, there is no value here. And you can't, you can use as much as you want, but everyone knows you don't have unlimited paid time off. And our study that we did actually shows that.
Tell me a little bit more about the study and what you found about how people use PTO in unlimited contexts.
Yeah, I think the thing that came out the most in the study to me was just that, one, employees don't use as much. They roughly use like 3 less days, a year per those that actually have accrued PTO. But that to me isn't the big meaning. The big meaning for me is because you don't track something and you're not communicating what you get, people don't know what they can take. And so they don't know what they've earned. So if I say, hey, Dr. Gleb, you can take as much time as you want. At some point in time, you realize I can't take as much time as I want. How much can I take? I don't know how much I can take. Nobody's told me how much I can take. Whereas if it's accrued, I know how much I can take, right? I accrued it. It's a number on my paycheck. But the thing about what we found in the unlimited was really that it runs contrary to really companies' diversity and equity and inclusion initiatives, meaning that we found that 43% of the women were less likely to use all of their leave. So we found a gender issue. We also found racial issues with non-whites were 19% less, right, to use all of their PTO. And then the real one that I thought was 56% of those that made less than 49,000. So the rank and file were less likely to use. And so when you start to think about how do I build my DEI initiatives, or how do I make a more inclusive work culture, unlimited time off or unlimited PTO runs contrary to what you're trying to achieve as a company.
And what kind of companies do you see using unlimited PTOs? What are the demographics, industries, sizes? Like, what's the typical company that you think would use that sort of approach versus a accrued approach, which is the more common one?
So first of all, I think that a lot of different sizes will use unlimited PTO. There'll be small companies like startups will use it because they don't want to attract, because if it's accrued in California, it's considered earned wages and has to be paid out. Okay, so if they don't accrue it, they won't have to pay it out. And that reasoning is the same reason why large companies like Microsoft just did it. Microsoft saved $1 billion+ on moving to unlimited. Okay.
Wow.
Because they had to pay it out, but once they had to pay it out, now they don't have to account for it anymore. Okay. So you see both, but I will tell you the ones that won't use unlimited PTO. And those companies are the ones where you need a person there to derive your revenue and or build your product or deliver your service. And I'll give you an example. I'm just going to use Costco for an example. So if you are work for Costco and you're a cash register person, you work at the cash register, and you take time off. Okay, so they have to actually put someone in there to run that cash register because it's revenue, right? So they're going to pay you to go on vacation and do nothing, and we're going to pay somebody to come in and run that cash register. So we just actually paid 2 weeks for 1 week worth of productivity. Okay. But the thing about this is that you can't be on unlimited because that person can't go away for, you know, unlimited amount of time because you need them to generate your revenue.
Mhm.
Okay. So same with healthcare, right? You need someone
Mm,
there at the bedside, like nurses, to deliver care.
mm,
Okay. If you said, hey, nurses, you have unlimited PTO, all of a sudden everyone's going to be leaving and you're not
mhm,
going to have anyone there to deliver your service. Same
mm,
with, let's say, Boeing and building airplanes, right? If you had unlimited PTO for their workers, you would never get an airplane out on time.
mhm,
Okay. So companies that do use unlimited, there are software companies that engineers are
mhm,
working from home. They're really not tracking the total productivity, those types of things.
mhm,
Um, and you know, there's just other types of companies that don't derive their revenue directly from the people.
mhm.
Then, you know, those are the ones that are going to use unlimited pay time off. Okay.
Interesting. I wonder, does this relate to the difference between salaried and hourly employees as well? Because it seems like the salaried employees would be the ones who would be most likely
Yeah.
to have the unlimited time off because they're not paid per hour, they're paid for the amount of tasks that they would do. So whatever, even if they take
Hmm.
unlimited time off, they're still responsible for the same tasks. So people might not be taking off certain unlimited time because they still have the same amount of tasks that they need to do.
Yep.
What are
And
you seeing
that's
there?
it. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, right? Salary
Mhm,
people are more likely to have the unlimited paid time off. But I
mhm,
will correct you that everyone has an hourly pay rate. When
mhm.
you get a salary,
Sure.
they divide it by 2080. That's just what they do, and that's your
Mhm,
hourly pay rate. And that's how you, if you were accruing and you're a salary person, but it's also, you know, how you're paid on it, you know, on a biweekly or monthly basis, however you're paid.
mhm,
Um, but yes, the salary people are more likely to be on unlimited because they're
mhm,
supposedly not stuck to 40 hours a week, right? They have to get the job done, right?
mhm,
But that also runs contrary to, you know, do you do they really have unlimited paid time off, right? They
mhm,
really don't because all of a sudden, doctor, I could give you a task and you'd be done, and there'd be another one right behind that, and you're supposed to get it
mhm,
done. And how do you really take time off? How do you really disengage from the company if you don't know how much time that you're able or what's expected of you?
mhm,
And I think that miscommunication, even in the salary, is where things fall down. Okay,
mhm,
the hourly people, yes, hourly people because you have them there at the cash register, you have them there
mhm.
in the store at retail because you have to open the doors and you have to have someone there
Sure.
to sell. Um, and so they're more likely to accrue paid time off. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and not go on unlimited. Yep.
Okay. That's a really clear explanation. I really appreciate that, Rob. What do you see as we wrap up the interview? What do you see as the future of paid time off, and what do you hope to accomplish with it?
Um, so I believe in the future, we will actually own our own paid time off, and it will look more
Mm,
like a 401k
mhm,
than the PTO plan it does today. Meaning that I believe that companies should accrue it over to an account that is off the books, so it doesn't
mhm,
affect the company from a financial impact, but it also gives the employee the ability to save their PTO. Um, and they could save, let's say if I could save 6 months worth of paid time off,
mhm,
I could then, if I ever got let go, I could then have this bridge of time, of money that I could then live off of till I found a job.
mhm,
Instead, today, you know, nobody has a savings account, right? I think it's
mhm.
65% of America can't afford a $400 emergency.
Sure.
And so if you were able to actually allow employees to build this off the books, right? It is
Mhm,
theirs, and then own it and utilize it in different ways. I think that would be more beneficial. And I think PTO, just like how Ted Benna built the 401k, um, we are trying to do the same with PTO. Now you can't do it today, but we think that over time, as we evolve paid time off, and as the workplace evolves and workforces evolve, right? Because we're seeing this big evolution with 1099 or it's gig, right, versus
mhm.
W-2.
Yeah.
Um, and um, and we believe that portability of your benefits is going to be critical to having a stable future in the workforce. And so the ability to have portability within your benefits is extremely important.
Excellent. And where can people go to learn more about how to work, what you do and the PTO Exchange?
Yeah, so you can go to ptoexchange.com. And if you want to connect, you can just type, email us at info@ptoexchange.com. And I actually do get those emails. So so does the salespeople and the marketing people, to answer any questions that you might have. And then you can also link in with me, okay, as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob. That was very helpful.
Dr. Gleb, thank you for having me on your show.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It really helps us improve the show and helps other people discover the show. All right, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. In the meantime, the wisest and most profitable decisions to you, my friends.